Welcome to Mama Mandala, where magic is somatic. I'm Hagar. I'm so excited you're here. We're going to bring the archetype of creativity into the body through breath work, through pranayama, and through a conversation, an exploration of creativity as an archetype as an energy we live in, not just as something that lives in us, because sometimes how we look at archetypes is in a very overly individualized kind of a way, the way that our society has taught us to look at everything. But it's actually a collection of energies that we live within. So an archetype is something that lives in us, and it's also something in our environment. It's something that we interact with both inside ourselves and around us. So we're going to do a little archetypal alchemy, but we're going to start with a little bit of breath awareness so that we can ground the conversation in the body from the get-go. So if you're watching this while you're driving or making food or doing chores or running around, that's totally fine. You don't have to close your eyes. I'm going to teach this for a moment with eyes closed for those of us who can do that right now. But if you can't close your eyes, don't worry about it. You can still focus on your breath and do this even if you're doing this with eyes open and moving yourself around. Hey, I'm a huge fan of making it work, how we can make it work. I'm a mama. I don't have a lot of time to just do the thing I want to do when I want to do it. Sometimes I have to listen to things and cultivate the actual work, even the embodied work, into the process of doing things. So I want to encourage you, even though we know that multitasking is a little bit, problematic, and it's better for us to focus on the thing that we're doing and do one thing at a time. We live in a culture and in a reality that might make it a little challenging. So I want this work to be adaptable, to be a resource that you can tap into no matter what and no matter when. And that, my friend, is part of the archetype of creativity. So if you can, allow your eyes to soften. You can close your eyes whenever you're ready to close them, if you can. And if not, just bring your attention very gently to your breath while your eyes are open and while you're moving yourself around and doing the things that you're doing right now. If your hands are not busy, you can bring one hand to the heart and one hand to the belly. I like the left hand to the heart and the right hand to the belly, but you can switch it around and play with it and do different things at different times. And notice how your breath changes when you bring your awareness to it. So even if you're not actually trying to do anything with your breath, the breath starts to shift because it feels your eyes on it. Right? Just like we shift a little bit of our behavior when we know we're being watched. And very softly, very slowly begin to deepen your breath consciously. So the breath is moving automatically. It's the somatic automatic. It's not something you have to do anything in order to make it happen. Thank the goddess, because wow, if on top of everything else we have to focus and make sure that we are actively breathing, that would be a disaster, right? It's one less thing to think about. And yet when you do think about it, when you do bring your awareness to it, something starts to happen. Something shifts in you. If you can, to create a little tone in the back of the throat and start to breathe Ujjayi pranayama. So this yogic breath, Ujjayi pranayama, those are Sanskrit words. Ujjayi means triumphant, and pranayama is it's breath work. It's translated as breath control or non-control of the breath, but it's a way to create a boundary around the breath. So this tone in the back of the throat, like the banks to the river of the breath. So the flow of the breath now moves through like a bit of a tighter passage, more of a structured container. And this, if we want, can symbolize our ability to create a container and a more constructed vessel for the energy of creativity to flow through us, not only in its grandness and its wildness, but also in a co-creative and a collaborative way, so that we can channel it, we can direct it, we can work with it, rather than just being worked by it. We want both. We want creativity to work through us, our animal nature, creative nature, our breath, life force, nature. And we want to work with it. We want to make something with it. We want to direct it where we want it to go. We want to be the artist, the poet, the dancer, the musician. So as you're breathing Ujjayi breath right now, you are cultivating the relationship between the wildness of creativity and creativity as an energy that we can choose how we work with. It is raw and primal. And as artistry, it is refined, generated consciously with our choice, with our power. As you breathe through the tone in the back of the throat, breathe a little bit more deeply into your belly. Expand your breath and expand your belly as you expand your breath to receive a bigger, wider, more expansive breath. And then with an exhalation, just allow your belly to soften and relax. Ready, allow your hands to release if your hands are on your belly or on your heart. And very softly allow your eyes to open if your eyes are closed. How are you feeling? How are you experiencing yourself and the power of creativity, the power of life right now? Right? So how we experience life has to do with how we experience the power of creativity. Life creates us. We are part of a universe that makes us. We're born into a creation that is continuously making itself. It's not that we are victims, right, to the way that we were born, but we are born with certain traits. We are born with certain aspects of our being. We are born into a certain time, to a certain family, to a certain culture. And the creativity of nature, the creative power of the universe is also what we're made of, right? So we can engage it. So we have the empowered capacity to create who we are, to co-create who we are with the energies that make us. It's a dance, right? The universe makes you and you make the universe, so that we are making ourselves from what we have been given, from how we have been created by the forces around us that are bigger than us, that have contributed to our existence. And we contribute to existence itself in the way that we live. So we can remind ourselves that we have the power and the ability and the capacity to choose how we are engaging in what's happening to us and around us and within us. The power of creativity is an empowered energy. It's, again, like we did as we were breathing, it's a wildness. It's an untamed energy. It's the energy of the forest. I did a video on the archetype of the forest. The last video that I posted was about that. I'll leave a link for you in the description of this video so that you can check it out. The archetype of the forest, very similar in a way to the archetype of the ocean, is a symbolic representation of the unconscious, right? And that's one way to look at it, but it's also prismatic. There are other ways to look at it. We can also remember that we are, again, like any archetype, we are within it. It's not just our unconscious, but there's something in it that is, it's the collective unconscious. We're part of something greater. So the forest is the forces around us that wrap around us that we might get lost in, and yet within it, just like in fairy tale, just like in mythology, we are the character that transforms in the arms of the wildness of the forest. So if the forest is the unconscious, it's also an area of our lives, an area inside of us that we get somewhat, we may think that we are lost in, but just like Gandalf says, not all who wander are lost. So we can orient how we move through times in our lives, moments in our lives, aspects of ourselves that feel like a fierce forest that threatens us, because the forest can eat you. We're also invited to reclaim the shadow of it, the monstrous in it, and anchor ourselves in the invitation to perhaps be eaten, perhaps be immersed and embraced in the oceanic vastness of the unconscious, in the undercurrents, in that which we think would suffocate us if we're going to let ourselves drown in it. And yet within it, we transform, we transmute, we become something different, something not different so much than something more. I think that's really where I want us to kind of take this, because the power of creativity is the power of more. So what happens to us through the journeys of transformation that we undergo, or that we take ourselves through, both emotionally, internally, mentally, inside of us, and as a society, as a people, as a community, sometimes as a family, because it's not just the work that we do inside of us, it's really how we bring that, how we interweave that with something greater than us, with the forces of nature. The process of transformation is not going to make us something else, but it's going to make us something more. Through the transformative powers that we engage in, sometimes consciously with our choice, and sometimes unconsciously with just the way that life goes, the process of transformation generates more of who we are. And that's a really, maybe a little bit of a different way of looking at it than how we're used to thinking about it. And it reminds us that the power of creativity, that the archetypal energy of creativity is resourcefulness. And that in a world where resources are abundant but not distributed equally at all, we can remember, we can learn, we can interact, we can make changes as we explore the way that there is something in us that is resourceful. We can't always remember it. Part of the process of engaging our resourcefulness is forgetting that we are resourceful. We have to sometimes, we don't have to, we just do, right? Because that's how life goes. We go through the process of forgetting that we are powerful and that we are empowered. We forget that we have the ability to adapt. We forget that we are problem-solving creatures, so that we can remember, so that we can refine it and refine our ability to engage with the world and engage with ourselves as innovative beings, as beings of invention, as beings of vision, and as beings of vision that have the ability to not only have the vision of maybe something that hasn't existed before, or something that we are striving toward, or really desiring but haven't yet been able to bring forth, or to I want to say get to, even though that's sometimes, it's okay. We can place, I'm telling myself as I'm telling you, it's okay for us to also place sometimes goals and ideas and visions that are outside of ourselves, because I think it's both and. The vision is something that we bring forth, but sometimes the process and the pathway of bringing it forth has a lot to do with forces around us. And yes, there are things to get along the way. So if you watch a lot of my videos and read my work, you know that I'm an anti-capitalist, and you know that I'm really working on in myself and in the ideas that I share with a bit of a resistance to the overculture, as Clarissa Pinkola Estes calls it, the dominant culture's oppressive, capitalistic, go get it, greedy kind of a way. I'm really struggling with that, and I want to contribute to a shift in how we interact with the world. But we are products of that kind of culture, right? So there's no way to escape it. That's part of the world that makes us. So how do we work inside ourselves with these energies? And when we work with them, we can learn how to discern, right? Like the process of creativity is, it's not just, it's embodied, and it's emotional, and it's and mental, and it's also intellectual. So how we engage in it, what we do with it has to include discernment and the ability to go, okay, well, this kind of energy of really going to get something is really problematic, and it has created a lot of problems in the world. And when is this kind of pretty nasty kind of nasty if it has been taken to where it has been taken by humanity, right? Super problematic. But where is it valuable? How is it something that we can engage in ways that are helpful, in ways that are perhaps in the goal-oriented kind of a way? Has to do not just with you, but with something more than you, with the way that you can contribute to the world, not just with what you're going to get, right? So part of our creativity is the generative power. It's also a receptive process, because the process of creativity requires that we become an open vessel for the muse, right? For inspiration to flow in. Because if inspiration doesn't come in, if inspiration isn't sparked, if we are disconnected from our muse, then it's very hard to cultivate our own creativity, right? And then we start to see what we're seeing in the culture, which is a lot of ideas being kind of I don't know, explored again and again in the same way. If you look at social media, it's like all trends. That's one of the reasons I'm not on Instagram so much anymore, because it's the same thing over and over again. All of a sudden, creators, right? Like in this, what is talked about as the creator economy, creators are not really creative. It's we're living in a culture of just repeating the thing that you think people want to see or hear, just so that you can do what? Be an influencer? It's quite funny, right? When you really think about it and you look at it and you expand how you're looking at it. It's astonishing. I wrote a whole piece about it, so if you want to explore this a little further, I'll leave a link for you in the description of the video about the creator archetype. So you can read about it there. But the invitation of creativity is not to replicate what has already been happening. It's to reinvent. It's to break the patterns of to break the patterns of what's expected, to do things in a different way, perhaps to do the same thing but in a different way. It's not necessarily, there's a lot of conversation about oh, we need new stories, we need new myths. Do we need new myths, or do we need to reinterpret some of the mythology? Do we need to be in a conversation with these stories that have been with humanity for a long time, and yes, are part of the problems that we see, are part of the issues, but so much of it is not in making something new and totally erasing the stories of the past so that we can create a new story, but perhaps it's about interacting with the stories that are already there in a different way, and having a critical eye and seeing the issues with some of the story. That's part of creativity, it's to have, again, that word discernment, when we engage in creativity in an intellectual way. And I'm not going to tell us that our intellect is lower than our creativity or less important than our heart. Oh, hell no. We need all of the pieces. Our creative nature needs all of the pieces that we have. That's why we have all these pieces. Every piece of us can be engaged and incorporated in a way that is problematic and in a way that is healthy and nourishing and supportive of ourselves and something greater than ourselves. And we're not always going to see all the problems and all the issues, and we're not always going to be aware of where we're causing problems. Because a part of the creative power of the universe is that, and the creativity of humanity, is that it's not just problem solving, it also creates problems. That's part of the creator archetype essay that I wrote. So, again, you can explore it there a little bit more. But a creativity is also the ability to create something, and how we create something is by repeating a pattern over and over again until there's a deep groove that we start to travel through again and again and again. And the more we travel through it, the more we're going to travel through it, because the path becomes easier for the liquidity of the experience to move through that specific groove. So that's part of, it's really interesting. Part of creativity is what creates a stuckness or a lack of creativity, a repeatability. But then when we watch it, when we become aware of it, when we discern and interact and engage and look at things, when we shift the lenses, because part of creativity is really the ability to look at things through different lenses. And when we do that, we are much more able to go, whoa, there's a pattern here and it's not a helpful one. So how can I shift the direction? How can I take the liquidity of my experience and start to travel it through a less familiar path? It's like a new neural pathway, right? To take the thoughts that are repeating inside yourself and creating the reality that you live, because this is how you now view the world, right? So everything that happens starts to come through that groove for you, even if it's not fully, I want to say true, but if it's not the full picture. Okay, let's just think about it that way. There's a lot of different aspects that create the picture of reality, right? Some of it is the things that we see and experience, and some of it is a whole other thing. So you have to back up and look at things a little bit more broadly and go, oh yeah, there's more pieces than just how I've been thinking about this, more pieces than just how I've been seeing this. This is a part of the reality, but I don't have to make it the reality with a capital R, right? You don't have to make the experience that you have the full blast of the truth of the situation. This is where interpretation comes in again. You can reinterpret the story. So taking the liquidity of the experience down a different pathway and creating a new groove, it's the process of, okay, well, this is how I've been thinking about it, and I've been taking this experience and everything that's happening in my life through that particular pathway. I'm going to start to take it in this way, because there's another way of seeing it, because the groove is in a rock, and the rock is my life, but really the rock is part of a mountain. The mountain is part of a much bigger landscape. So I can take it down this pathway that I've always taken this and have the same experience over and over again, kind of I think about it sometimes as like this mopey kind of mopey way of being, right? Because everything that I'm seeing like this, like Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh. But we can also then go, oh, okay, I can take it down a different pathway. And that pathway is also not the whole truth either. But is it more helpful right now to go in another way? And can I remember that this new groove and this old groove and all the other grooves and all the other pathways are part of this bigger rock? Do I have the ability to take a step back and look at this rock? Do I have the ability to take an even further step back and feel the mountain air? And remember that this rock is part of the mountain, and that this rock was created in the forest on this mountain by all these different leaves and sand pieces and mud and the waters that flows through the forest, and slowly compressed layers upon layers, millions upon millions of years to make this rock. Can I remember that it's part of something so much bigger? And our creativity is our ability to start to look at things from a broader angle, through a different lens, to not get stuck in just one interpretation, but to respect the interpretation you've had so far. You don't have to throw it away. You can go, wow, you've been helpful. You were trying, you can talk to this part of you, right? With a deep breath to make sure you're regulated. That's why we started this conversation with a little bit of a breath practice. So you can come back to it whenever you need to. And breathe and help your system to regulate, to feel that it's safe enough to have a conversation with this part of you that has maybe tried to protect you for a really long time, taking you down this pathway. It's easier to go down this pathway. Let's just do this. This is the safer way, right? And to thank it. You don't have to throw it off the mountain. You don't have to get rid of it. You have to make space for it inside yourself. It's part of the rock. It's always going to be there, this groove. You just want to make sure that as you have more experiences, you don't necessarily take the liquidity of the experience down that pathway. But what's another more helpful pathway? You are resourceful. you are able, with your innovative capacities, because you are the creative energy of the universe, to take it down a different path while thinking the other path, while embracing the whole of the rock, while anchoring in the grandness of the mountain, while breathing the mountain air and allowing it to support you. Part of the beauty of our creativity is that it invites us to appreciate beauty. To appreciate beauty, even in times like now that are so difficult. And you might ask yourself, if you're watching this and you watched it all the way to now, wow, thank you for being with me here. But you might ask yourself, why creativity now in these times? Like, are you kidding? Who has time for creativity? And I want to encourage us. I'm not excluding myself from that thought, that questioning. But I'm going to encourage us to consider that the archetypal power of the artist and the visionary, that the ability to create something, to to imagine a different way, and with our hands and with our community make a different way, is really necessary right now. Without being in touch with our creativity, we are going to collapse with the systems that collapse around us. Without grounding ourselves so that creativity can flow through us, without making ourselves a strong vessel for our creative power and opening ourselves up to our creativity, there's no way that we can get through this. We need it. We need the poets. We need the visual artists. We need the dancers. We need music. We need both for the pure pleasure of being immersed and embracing the arts, and also because art is how humanity processes what happens to it internally, personally, individually, and collectively. There's no way around it. This is really so deep in our ancestry, like tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands years of human artistry, artistic, creative capacities. We need it. So whether you're an artist or not, it doesn't matter. Your creativity is necessary right now. It's needed right now. We need you. If this speaks to you, you would love my Substack. I send Muse Medicine every Monday with prompts that encourage you to create something, to think about things a little bit differently, to make something even small, to fill up the blank just so that you can be in touch with a certain archetype, with a certain energy, with a certain mythic narrative, so that you can be in touch with your creativity, with yourself as art. So I will leave a link for you in the description of the video so that you can subscribe to my Substack, which is it's the juice of life. I love it. It's a beautiful place for my own creativity, and I love it for that reason, and I'm so grateful for it. And I would be so grateful for your support and for your participation in that space with me. And also really, really grateful to have the ability to be there and encourage you to dive into your artistry, to consider your own creativity as important, to be in touch with your muse every Monday with a different way to spark the muse. Now, if you're in a place right now where you're feeling stuck with your creativity and you need some more support even than the weekly letter of love to the muse, and if you feel like inspiration is kind of hidden under the surface, like there's a little bit of a stagnation in your creative juices, as an artist of life, and also just as a person living in these times, they're really, all of us feel really suffocated right now by what's happening in the world. So if you need a little bit more support, I have a program called From Stillness to Spark, and it's a way to orient yourself around these times, around times of stuckness and stagnation, around this experience of being just not knowing really how to light up your own artist creative pathway. This is for you, okay? Because it's not going to force you into any productivity processes or any kind of a more capitalistic kind of a way of approach to creativity. It's really a process of building temple for your muse, a way to ritualize in an embodied somatic way your relationship with inspiration and to tend to it very softly. It's really an anti-capitalistic kind of a it's not even a program, but it's 5 sessions. It's very affordable. I'll leave a link for you in the description of the video. I would love to have you there. I think it's really supportive for these times and for so many of us for so many years feeling stuck. So this is a way to anchor and soften while also empowering and igniting, okay? Or turning to that which is already ignited, already sparked, and building a sacred relationship with it. So I'll leave a link for you in the description of the video. I'm so grateful we got to have this moment. Should we close with a little breath? I think we should. Just coming back to it now after this talk. So again, if you are doing whatever it is that you're doing and you don't want to stop, I don't need you to. You don't need to. You can follow my guidance with the breath, even if you're not stopping what you're doing, even if you're driving or cooking or folding laundry or whatever it is that you're doing. And if you're seated and you can allow your eyes to soften and close your eyes whenever you're ready. And turn your awareness to the breath. It's funny, as soon as I turned my awareness to the breath, it changed, it deepened. You can place the left hand over your heart, your right hand over your belly, or both hands on your heart, or both hands on your belly if that feels good. And watch the way that your breath is moving right now. Giving yourself space to just be with yourself where you are, right where you are. And embody this ability to construct a channel, a pathway for your breath, for your creativity, to move through you more powerfully, to emphasize the energy of creativity, tone the back of the throat. And if you're not a yoga practitioner, it's basically creating this relationship with the breath where you are making the breath sound like a whisper or a sigh. You can even do that with your mouth open for a little bit so that you can get it more easily. And breathe and expand your belly as you allow the inhalation to fill you. And let the exhalation move the breath out of you as you allow your belly to relax. Breathing into your belly and breathing into the belly in a way that makes it a little bigger as you breathe in, and then relaxing it as you breathe out helps tone and regulate the nervous system. Helps you slow down, helps the mind to, without force, arrive a little bit more deeply in the present moment. helps our heart rate, helps us weave together this presence with our mental, emotional, somatic beingness. And whenever you're ready, you can relax your hands if your hands were on your body. And if your eyes are closed, allow your eyes to very softly open. Thank you so much for joining me for this. I hope this was interesting and evocative and allows your creative juices to flow in different ways and work through the unknown in a way that empowers you through it instead of diminish you. We need to empower ourselves as creative beings right now. So I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to know where this touches you, how this moves you, what in your life is a creative project that you are engaging in. It doesn't have to be art at all. It can be how you're raising your children, how you are tending to cooking, what you're doing in the garden, whatever it is that you do in your life right now, and that you are orienting yourself around it to become, to be, in a very conscious way, a creative project. I'd love to know. Leave me a comment and let me know how this, where in your life you're creating. So thank you again so much. And if you like this video, put a like on it. It's very simple and it's a very helpful for me. So I would appreciate that so much. That's really supportive for me. And if you like this video, share it with your people. And if you're not yet subscribed to this channel, what the hell are you waiting for? Subscribe to this channel. It helps other people find it. It really helps to support my work. So I'm really grateful for that. And I'll catch you sometime soon. All right. Thanks so much.